Dragon Masters Book 2 Saving the Sun Dragon Chapters 6 and 7 Chapter 6 Worm Calls Drake jumped out of bed. He shook Bo awake. "Worm needs us!" Drake cried. That was all Bo needed to hear. The boys raced downstairs to the door that led to the dragon training area. Drake tried to open it. "It's locked!" Drake cried. "Good thing I have a key," said a voice. Drake and Bo turned around. Rory and Anna were standing there. Rory held up a key. "Where did you get that?" Drake asked. "I swiped it from one of the castle guards when I first got here," Rory said. "It's a skeleton key. It opens up all the locks in the castle." "We came running as soon as we heard you two stomping down the hall," Anna added. "We figured something was up." "I'm glad you came, but please hurry," Drake said. Rory opened the door. When they got to Kepri's cave, Worm was in front of it. "How did Worm get out of his cave?" Drake wondered. "Worm, what's wrong?" he asked. Worm nodded toward Kepri. The gate to her cave was open, and the Dragon Master stepped inside. Griffith was asleep in the corner. Books were piled around him. Kepri was asleep too, but she looked sicker than before. Her scales looked dull. She looked thin and pale. Her breathing was loud and heavy. The Dragon Masters were stunned. "She wasn't this sick earlier," Rory said. "Did the potion make her worse?" "Maybe it just didn't work," Bo said. "We have to do something," Anna cried. Drake looked at Worm. "Isn't there anything we can do?" Drake whispered. Worm's body began to glow. Drake wasn't sure why, but he knew just what to do. He put one hand on Worm's snout and one hand on Kepri's tail. "Everybody touch Worm, now!" he yelled. Startled, his friends obeyed. They all laid their hands on Worm. Griffith's eyes snapped open. "What is going on?" the wizard asked. But before Drake could answer, green light exploded in the room, blinding them. Number 1. What does a skeleton key do? Number 2. Where did Rory get it? Number 3. Worm was not in his cave. Where was he? Chapter 7 Faraway Lands. Drake felt weird. He couldn't feel the ground under his feet, but he could still feel his hand on Worm. His stomach did a flip-flop. Then the green light faded. Drake blinked. His feet landed on sand, and he could feel cool air on his face. Worm, Kepri, and the Dragon Masters were standing on a pathway. A white stone wall lined one side of the path. On the other side of them was a tall, strangely shaped building. Griffith was not with them. "Worm, why did you bring us here?" Drake wondered. Drake looked up at the big building. Each of the building's four sides was shaped like a triangle. The pointy top was capped with shining gold. Anna's eyes got wide. "A pyramid!" she cried. "Drake, What have you done? Where are we? Rory asked. She sounded scared. Anna turned to her. I think we're in my homeland. But how? Drake started to say. Then he looked at Worm. The dragon's green eyes were shining. Worm must have used his mind powers to bring us here. That's impossible, said Rory. Dragons can't travel halfway across the world using their minds. Look around you, Rory, Bo said. It must be possible. We are no longer in the kingdom of Bracken. But why didn't Worm bring Vulcan and Shu with us? Rory asked. Drake thought back to Kepri's cave. We were all touching Worm, and I was touching Kepri, but the other dragons were still in their caves. And now we are here, in the land where Kepri and I were born, said Anna. Wait, remember what I read in Griffith's book about sun dragon twins? Rory asked, her voice getting excited. It said that every sun dragon has a moon dragon twin that can heal it. So Kepri's twin might be here, said Bo. Do you think that's why Worm brought us here? Asked Drake. Suddenly, they heard loud voices. The voices came from the other side of the stone wall. Drake didn't understand the language, but Anna did. Oh no, robbers! They often come to the pyramids to steal things. That must be why they are here. We cannot let anyone see us or our dragons. But there's nowhere to hide, said Bo. Just then, a boy stepped out from the shadows. He had golden brown skin and black hair like Anna. Follow me, he said. Number 1. What color are Worm's eyes? Number 2. Which two dragons are not with the Dragon Masters now? Number 3. How did everyone get to a pyramid? To be continued.